Good morning. Good morning. My name is Todd Roden. I'm the Executive Director for the Greater Bryant Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning for the 91st General Assembly of the Arkansas State Legislature. I would like to thank the Benton Chamber of Commerce, the Bryant Chamber of Commerce, of course, and the Hot Springs Village Chamber of Commerce for helping put on this breakfast. Gary James is in the room from the Benton Chamber of Commerce, along with Miss Jerry. I'd like to thank Michael Dollar from the Hot Springs Village Area Chamber of Commerce. We have a great relationship together, and I think it's very important moving forward to collaborate to help our community continue to grow. I would like to thank our community for taking interest in what's going on at the Capitol today. I would like to thank Scott Bennett, Director of Arkansas State Highway and Transportation Department, for being here today. I'd like to thank our legislators for taking the time to visit. On my left, Representative Kim Hammer. On my right, Lanny Fight, and also over here, Representative Andy Mayberry. I would also like to thank our sponsors, Landers of Saline County for sponsoring the breakfast, and Saline Memorial Hospital for catering this morning. I think they did a great job, so thank you. And I also want to recognize Cheryl Cook in the room from Landers this morning. At this time, I ask Representative Kim Hammer to please come up and lead us in the opening prayer.
Would y'all please stand for the pledge after the prayer? Father, we thank you for the day, and as always, we thank you, Lord, that we live in a free country where we can assemble publicly without fear of persecution. And Father, that right is preserved by the men and women who are serving on the front lines, whether it be here locally in the way of our police department and other emergency response personnel, or whether it be the men and women that are serving around this globe that share the same sense of freedom and appreciation for it that we do in this room. And so we thank you, Lord, for them and pray your blessings upon their family. We thank you for the food that's been provided. May we be appreciative, realizing there are folks in parts of the world that don't have the luxury of 3 meals a day. So we thank you, Lord, for what you provide in the way of food. And we thank you for the leadership that has brought this together, for Landers and just for the hospital, and Father, for just each and every person that has contributed to us being able to come out this morning and just have a public dialogue about the issues that are near and dear to the hearts of the people of Arkansas, especially Saline County. We just pray that you bless the day, and thank you, Lord, for all the blessings that are coming we don't even know are out there, and we give you the praise for it. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So at this time, I would like to invite up Scott Bennett, Director of Arkansas State Highway and Transportation Department. Scott Bennett was selected by the Arkansas Highway Commission to become Director of the Arkansas State Highway and Transportation Department effective September 22nd, 2011. He's got more education than the President of the United States, so I don't have to go through all that. And at this time, I'd like to invite him forward to talk about all the great things he's doing. So, Scott?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's good to be here, and I want to take just a moment on the front end as a speaker's privilege. I want to introduce Lori Tudor. A lot of you may know her already. She is one of Saline County's own. She's our Deputy Director and Chief Operating Officer. But I want to tell you something you may not know about Lori. Lori she's an engineer also like me, but she actually, when she got out of high school, she wanted to be a nurse. And intern here, just the summer after she graduated, started a nursing school, ended up not finishing, having to quit. She came to work at the highway department as a clerk typist and worked around in several different offices, and she ended up in our program management office, and had probably gone about as high as a non-engineer could go. And I think she looked around the room at some of the engineers and thought, man, I'm just as smart, if not smarter, than a lot of these people. and she quit and went back to engineering school. How old were you when you went back? About 28. Got some of the courses that she could, some of the basics at UALR, and then she commuted from Benton to Memphis to finish her engineering degree with a family at home. Actually came back to work for us in her early 30s as an entry-level engineer, and really has done a great job and moved up, and now she really is my right hand. She's our Deputy Director, Chief Operating Officer, and you all ought to be proud to have one of your own in a position like that. So I wanted to say thanks. I can't do what I do without her. She asked me one day, she said, "What do I really do? What's my job description?" And I said, "Well, you do everything that I can't do or everything I don't want to do." And she does a good job. But I wanted to, that's what Lanny tells you too. Yeah, that's exactly right. If you haven't noticed, there's a lot going on. There's a lot that's coming up in Saline County. In the last 10 years, we've completed about $100 million worth of work in Saline County. There's another 50 or so that's going on right now, but there's $150 million worth of work that's coming up in Saline County just over the next few years. And I wanted to highlight some of those things, and I'll talk about Interstate 30 in just a minute. I know that's one of the big reasons that we're here. Of course, you probably, if you haven't driven to Hot Springs, you've probably still seen the news. Highway 70 is under construction. That's largely thanks to the half-cent sales tax program that passed back in 2012. There was a referred act to the people for a temporary half-cent sales tax program for a major highway program, about $1.8 billion worth of work around the state. And that was approved in November of 2012. We're well underway with that program, and that's funding a large part of the work on Highway 70 between Interstate 30 and Hot Springs. Widening that highway to 5 lanes, going to make it safer, going to make it less congested. That was awarded just back in December for almost $80 million. And one of the things that we did with that, originally we had the Saline County part and the Garland County part broken out into 2 different jobs, but we really thought if we combined it into one bigger job, we'd be able to finish it even sooner. So that work is underway. It should be complete in the latter part of next year. So it'll take about 2 years to do a job of that magnitude. So that's well underway. If you've driven that way, you've seen a lot of work going on, and we look forward to them continuing to work there. Highway 5 is another one. You know, we've been working on widening Highway 5 from Little Rock this way. Just a couple of years ago, we finished a job that came out to the Saline County line. Well, we have another job that's coming up just hopefully later this year to widen Highway 5 between Reynolds Road, which is Highway 183, and Alcoa Road. That'll be a big job. If you've been down through there, you've seen utilities moving already. You know, we bought the right of way. Utilities are getting out of the way. Once utilities are out of the way enough to give the contractor some room to work, we'll take bids on that job. So that'll be coming up. We know, we talk about this a lot of times, hey, construction, it's good and it's bad. It's bad because, hey, there's a lot of work going on, and it slows traffic down. We try our best to make sure we keep all the driveways open and everything, but you do experience delays during construction, especially one in an urban area like that. But once it's finished, things will be so much better. Traffic will move so much better. It'll be so much safer. So we're looking forward to that job coming up. That'll be about a $15 million job. There is a safety job under construction on down Highway 5 from Highway 128 into Benton, doing some shoulder widening, putting in some rumble strips, flattening out some curves, making some curves a little straighter, resurfacing the road to make it much safer. That job, about an $8 million job, ought to be finished about the middle of next year. And there's some other work coming on. A safety project from Benton out to the Garland County line will be coming up in 2018. Another resurfacing job from Salt Creek Road into I-30 will be coming up in 2019. So all in all, there's about $20 million worth of work that's going to be going on Highway 5 over the next few years. Highway 183, you all have seen some of the work going on there. We replaced a couple of bridges. We removed a bridge out in Bauxite. Some of that work has gone on that's been really good. A couple of other resurfacing projects coming up on Highway 67 from the Hot Spring County line to I-30, and on Highway 229, so it's from some different sections from Fordyce all the way up to Highway 67. You know, some of the work that we do too, we work with the cities and the counties on a lot of work that they do. Military Road in Benton, we worked with the city to make sure that was all done the right way. They were using some federal aid funds. Job that was completed just about 5 or 6 years ago. Another job, Alcoa Road in Saline County, that was awarded in July of 2016, about $15 million. And we helped with that to make sure that's all being done the right way. And then one of the things that we do too that's a little bit different, it's a federal program that we have where money comes to us specifically to use for things like trails and sidewalks. And that money all has to go out in grants to different people. It's not money that we use, not the money that we spend, but all the locals apply for those things. And there are a couple of them that have been awarded recently. The Riverside Park Trail in Benton, about 7,500 feet of trail around Riverside Park. That job was awarded in January for a little over $200,000, and about 80% of that was the federal money from our program. Another one, the old River Bridge rehab in Saline County is part of the Southwest Trail. They've collected about $1.3 million in federal aid funds to rehab that bridge that'll ultimately be part of the Southwest Trail. So those are some of the different things that we do that you may not hear about a lot. But I know I-30, there's a lot of work that's going to be coming up on I-30 just really in the near future. First of all, what we've done, we've widened it down to Sevier Street. That happened, completed just a little over 10 years ago now. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it's been that long, but that section is about 10 years old. We knew that we needed to widen the section from Sevier Street down to Highway 70. But also, we knew it was going to take us a little while to develop that project, and the pavement was getting to be in pretty bad shape. So we had a little Band-Aid job just a few years ago to overlay that section to make the ride quality a little bit better and hopefully last as long as it took to get us to the point where we could widen the job and really replace the pavement that's there. Cable median barriers been put up. Those have been really critical for safety. And I know we see a lot of times a lot of crashes on the highway system. We're still a really rural state. There are people that drive at higher speeds. A lot of times the crashes that you see are single vehicle crashes. Somebody ran off the road. Conditions were clear, conditions were dry, but they ran off the road. Most of that is because of distracted driving. It's not because of the highways. The highways have been designed to be absolutely as safe as they can be, but a lot of that is because of distracted driving. But the cable median barriers have saved a lot of lives over the last several years, and that's really what they were designed to do. So we're happy that we're able to put in that safety feature in a lot of those spots. Down in Bryant, we just awarded a contract to build we call it the Raymar Road interchange. I think it's the Bryant Parkway interchange now. To add ramps to that overpass, that was a partnering job with the City of Bryant. City of Bryant, they contributed $2 million to the job. It's almost a $7 million project to be able to add those 4 ramps. We think that'll relieve some of the congestion at the Reynolds Road interchange and open up that area for development quite a bit. But the next big job coming up is the widening from Sevier Street down to Highway 70. Be widening from 4 lanes to 6 lanes, so you'll have 3 lanes in each direction. We should be able to take bids on it a little bit later this year. A lot of it is going to be done within our existing right-of-way with the exception of a couple of interchanges. We really think we're going to be able to keep 2 lanes of traffic open at least for the majority of the time. Now there may be more narrow than they are now. You'll have barrier walls or barrels that are set up, but we believe we'll be able to keep 2 lanes of traffic open, at least for the majority of the time, 2 lanes in each direction. But I wanted to go over with you what the 2 interchanges are going to look like. I'm going to step away from the microphone and hopefully you'll still be able to hear me. Can everybody still hear me? Okay. The biggest changes really are going to be to exit 114, which is the connection to Highway 67 and Highway 229. So if you've driven through there, it's a little bit confusing. I don't know why it was designed that way years ago. I didn't do it. But no, Lori didn't do it, but Lori and I are going to fix it. So in the end, what will happen with this job is going westbound, which is away from Benton, you will actually have a 2-lane off-ramp. So the 2-lane off-ramp will tie in directly to Highway 229. There will be 2 left-hand turn lanes. There will be 2 lanes that go through to the frontage road. There will be 1 lane that turns right. So at the approach to that intersection, there will actually be 5 lanes. But one of the big things we're doing for safety is we're relocating the frontage road. So we're moving the frontage road back behind that development to tie into the off-ramp. So we're separating the frontage road and the on-ramp. So the on-ramp, to go back to the west, is just going to be a slip ramp that will be its own ramp. You don't have to worry about traffic coming at you or anything like that. So that'll be a little bit safer. It should be a lot safer, actually. For the other direction, if you're coming from the west, there's not a lot that will change, but we're going to relocate that section of Highway 67 a little bit to give everybody a better chance to come off and tie into Highway 67 at a right angle. There will be a couple of lanes going across the bridge or in both directions to get back on Interstate 30 going back toward Little Rock. There will be 2 lanes that merge into 1 lane, and we're going to lengthen that ramp. One of the things that has happened is because of the bridge being there, you couldn't have the acceleration lane as long as you really needed it. So we're going to be able to fix some of the problems with the sight distance where you can't really see when you're getting on the interstate. That bridge, as part of replacing that bridge and widening it, we'll widen it enough to carry the acceleration lane across the bridge. So you'll have a lot longer run to be able to get up to speed and merge into traffic. If you're coming down from this area and want to go back to the west, instead of having to turn left across traffic, there will be a loop ramp where you loop around to the right and go under the bridge and merge into traffic. So that section should be, that interchange should be a lot safer once we get finished with this. Now we'll have to build it in phases because we will have to keep the existing interchange open. So there will be a lot of moving around while the contractor is doing this work. But we think this is going to be a much better option once we get it completed. There will be a signal at the westbound off-ramp and the frontage road. There will be a signal on the other side at the off-ramps. So that'll make things a lot safer also. At the 116 interchange, there are several things that are going to change, but a lot of the interchanges is going to stay in the same basic operation. But one of the things that you know is that several years ago when we widened down the Sevier Street, we converted all the frontage roads to one way. We had several head-on crashes on those frontage roads with the off-ramps, and they've been pretty serious crashes. And we converted all those frontage roads to one way, but the one-way frontage road ends at this interchange. Well, that leads to some confusion sometimes in this area. So actually, where the two-way frontage road starts, we're going to build a traffic circle or a roundabout to help traffic flow better and to make it a lot easier. He got tired of listening to me already. I haven't even asked for money yet.
I've heard this a million times.
I haven't even asked for money yet. You gotta stay.
I apologize.
No,
I've got a meeting later.
So we'll actually make these ramps a little bit bigger to be able to make those turns a lot easier, especially for some of the trucks. But if you're coming from Little Rock and Benton, you'll still have the off ramp in the same spot, and you'll make this loop to come around and be able to connect up here to Sevier Street, be able to make the loop and go across the bridge. But there is going to be a traffic circle here to make things better and more distinct between where the one-way frontage road ends and where the two-way frontage road begins. On the south side, you're still going to have the loop ramps and you're still going to get off in the same place. But we're going to tie things in quite a bit better. And one of the things that we're doing in the southeast quadrant is Sevier Street is actually going to be cut off and made a little cul-de-sac. Now, we've already talked to the property owners down here. They're aware of this. There is an easy way to get back around to the main road. So they're very aware of this. They're supportive of it because it is going to be something that's safer. But there's going to be a connection that'll be back up here to the frontage road. That'll be a lot more direct connection. And this is the spot where the one-way frontage road ends or begins going back to the east, and the two-way frontage road ends. So we'll make things a lot safer in that area. Caldwell Elementary School is a little bit up the road. This is not going to have any direct impact on Caldwell Elementary School. There's not going to be any construction going on in front of Caldwell Elementary School. Now, for the people that travel through there to go to school, because of construction, there could be some delays when they're going through there, but that's the same as with any construction job. This bridge over the interstate is going to be replaced. When you replace a bridge over the interstate, when you start to hang steel over the interstate, we will actually have to shut down Interstate 30 intermittently. We've done that in a lot of places. We did it on Interstate 430 a few years ago when we changed the Interstate 430, 630 interchange. We'll do it at night when there's very, very little traffic. We'll only stop it for a few minutes at a time while they're putting the steel in place and make it just as painless as possible. But you'll end up having a new wider bridge with sidewalks to go across the interstate in the end also. This work is all going to be coming up. Again, we hope that we're able to take bids probably in the latter part of the summer or the early part of the fall, as soon as we've got the right-of-way bought in this area, the utilities out of the way, and all the plans ready to go. So that work will be coming up pretty soon. We think that's going to be close to a $100 million job. So that's going to be a really big job. One thing about jobs of that size is they attract contractors that are really and just in a night or so pick it up and put it on top of what's there now.
I left out my right hand. I know she tells me not to mention her, but Cheryl Smith is a huge asset in our office and our chamber. So Cheryl, thank you for what you do. Really appreciate it. So at this time, Representative Hammer, would you like to lead it off? And yeah. You want to start with questions? All right. We can go to questions. Please don't be shy. We got about 20 minutes left. Come on.
The new service road at exit 114 that goes and loops around is the construction here. Is that the new trade school? That's pictured in the.
No.
Okay, that's not the new, because they talked about a new trade school there for, education.
Right, no, that's
okay, so that's not it.
Right.
That is out at exit 114. You're talking about the CTE Center.
Yes.
That would be at exit 114, which I don't even think is on the picture.
Okay, it's just a little bit further down.
It's off the picture.
It'd actually be at the corner of Frontage Road and Mountain View.
Yeah.
Which is just just off of the picture, right?
Gotcha.
But that interchange is really going to help open things up for all the development that's planned in that area.
I've got a question to Hammer. On the bill to collect sales tax and things order, Amazon and all, and I think that's smart enough to do that. But how is that going, and is it going to pass?
You might have to repeat the question.
The question was about the internet sales tax on Amazon and other products, and how is that going? Of course, after all the discussion happened, Amazon, you may have read in the paper, picked up and said that they were going to start doing it without legislative action. So really, in some sense, it's been taken out of our hands. We were one of only 6 states that was not doing it. And so that bill, which was the Senate version, still, we haven't voted on it yet, I didn't think so, but that bill is still out there to be dealt with. But I think when Amazon stepped up and did what they did, it almost negated the purpose for the bill. Not to say it's not still out there and won't still have action, but they pretty well filed suit.
Can you speak to the Highway 5 construction and change and widening a little bit more in depth?
I can't, but I know the man that can.
That's exactly right.
That was for Lori.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It'll be a 5-lane section. We had a lot of meetings and a lot of coordination with the city when we were developing this job. You know, Bryant doesn't really have a downtown, and in a lot of ways they're wanting to make that corridor a downtown corridor, kind of a walkable area. It hasn't really developed that way. I know there's a school on one side, but a lot of the businesses haven't really been developed to be that walkable. And there are a lot of driveways through there. And one of the options that we looked at one time was making it 4 lanes with a median. But when you make it 4 lanes with a median, there are a lot of places that you can't turn in and out of. Only right turn in and right turn out. So in a lot of ways, when you have a situation like that with a lot of driveways, you'll make things less safe if you put in a median, because you're going to have people that have a lot of U-turns to go where they're going. Businesses don't really like it because they say it cuts their access. It doesn't really cut their access, but it does lessen it. So in the end, we did settle on a 5-lane cross section. We're going to have sidewalks on either side, so there are going to be a lot of safety features that are put in place. We looked at roundabouts at either end, at Spring Hill Road and Highway 183, but in the end, there's enough traffic going through there, and the roundabouts that you would have to put in were going to be so big that they were going to cut into some of the development at those intersections. So we'll just make improvements to those intersections with the signals that are there. But in the end, it's going to be a 5-lane cross section with sidewalks on either side. We'll have a little landscaping between the main lanes and the sidewalks that the city will maintain. They're going to try to do some different things to the crosswalks at the intersections, maybe paint them a different color to highlight them and things like that. But that's basically what you'll end up having is a 5-lane cross section through there. So you'll have a turn lane in the middle, and that's where a lot of the congestion comes from now, and a lot of the accidents come from now, is that you only have 1 lane in each direction. So if somebody's stopping to turn left, everybody backs up behind them, and people take risks coming in and out of the driveway. So that's where a lot of the safety issues have come from, and I think a lot of that will be solved with it.
Timeline on all of that?
We're moving utilities now. As soon as the utilities are out of the way enough to give the contractor room to work, we'll take bids on it. It should be sometime this year.
Hey Scott, and you may have mentioned this, if you did, I'm sorry. What about Highway 5 from Benton to Hot Springs?
You never listen to me, do you, Shane?
Another matter.
Yeah. There are some safety improvements that are going on right now that'll be finished next year. We're widening the shoulders. We're straightening some of the curves. We're going to put in rumble strips. We're going to resurface a lot of it. A lot of the problems we've had there have been with some of the curves and some wet weather crashes, and the highway not really being that forgiving because of not having shoulders. That's under construction right now. There's a resurfacing job from I-30 out to Salt Creek Road that'll come up in a couple of years. There's another safety job that's coming up between Benton and the Garland County line, and we're looking at that now to see what we can do with the money available. So there'll be another safety job coming up. We studied that whole section of Highway 5 from Benton all the way down to Hot Springs. There's not enough traffic on it to warrant widening to 4 lanes, but there was justification for some of the safety improvements, and that's the one job that's under construction now and another one that's coming up.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, what's up?
You gonna remember that now?
I'll remember.
Okay.
I'll ask you.
Oh, not at all, not at all. Yes, I did not tell you that. This is a good thing. The Highway 70 widening job from Interstate 30 out to Hot Springs, $80 million, and it was actually awarded to an Arkansas contractor, McGeorge Contracting. They're kind of a conglomerate, I guess. They've got McGeorge Contracting, Pine Bluff Sand and Gravel. They have a hand in Cranford Construction Company, Granite Mountain Quarries that's over there in Little Rock. They're a pretty big local firm that's based out of Pine Bluff at Little Rock. They were awarded that job, but even as big as they are, that's the single biggest contract that they've ever been awarded. And we've talked to them a lot, and if you've been down there again, you've seen a lot of work going on. They're committed to getting out there and making sure that they get that job done as quickly as possible. One of the things that we can talk to contractors about all the time is, we're doing all these jobs for you all, for the people that pay the taxes, for the people that use the roads. We want to make sure that you're making as much progress as you can make to get the job done as quickly as possible, because the worst thing that can happen is that you've got a work zone out there and no work is going on. And we think they're committed to doing that work. They're going to work 6 days a week. And actually, there have been a little bit of times that they've been working on Sunday already. We don't let them do any work that requires our inspection on Sundays, but they've got right now a 6-day-a-week, 10-hour-a-day schedule that they're working through there. But those are local contractors, money staying here. Sometimes when you have jobs that big, they don't really lend themselves to some of the local contractors, but that one is going to a contractor right here in Arkansas. Yes?
To tell me, this is a curiosity, from an engineering standpoint, driving through there on a Saturday and going, work is going on, and then, blank spot. Oh, that's as far as they got, and then we go right back into more going on. And I'm going, how do you determine what spot?
How are they
all
facing the job?
the way to the fact that we got the Hot Springs and there was still some on the tail end, and I'm going,
Right.
how do you figure out what
Well, and I'll tell you, and one thing I didn't talk about was the reconstruction work they did on the westbound lanes of I-30 on the other side of Highway 70 that was finished a few years ago, or actually just, I guess, about a year or so ago. We designed the job and say this is what it ultimately needs to look at. And when contractors come in and bid on that work, they actually bid not only the cost of the job, but they bid the time that it's going to take to do the job. So the contractor is required to develop his schedule, and he develops his schedule to use his workforces to the best of his ability and to complete his job to the best of his ability as fast as he can. So we're out there to make sure that they do things in accordance to the plans and specifications and to try to keep them on track. But if they don't show up, we can't make them come there. But if they go into overtime, then there are penalties that they're assessed. So it's to their benefit to finish as fast as possible. On Highway 70, what you'll find out, a lot of the preliminary work that has to go on, there's a lot of clearing that they had to do. So they're clearing a lot of the trees. There are also, before they start widening, there are two things that have to be done. There's some culverts that go under the road. Well, they have to extend those culverts to be able to start to widen on one side. Well, there are 4 bridges also, And those bridges are going to be some of the controlling factors, so they have to get in there and do the work to get ready to widen those bridges. So you'll see a lot of the clearing work going on in the first 3 miles, and then you'll go down, and the work that they're doing is preparing to extend those culverts and replace those bridges. But their plan right now is to work in about 3-mile sections. So they'll work in the first 3 miles, and they'll widen on one side, then they'll move traffic over there, and then they'll complete the part on the existing pavement, and then they'll move about 3 miles down the road. But you will go for spots where you don't see any work going on, and then you'll see some more work going on, and most of that is where they're extending those culverts and getting ready to widen those bridges, and also in some other spots in Garland County where we're going to straighten out some curves. So they'll be working out there where they're not really next to the roadway to get ready to do some work on those spots to widen to flatten out the curves.
The company that you choose must have to have an enormous amount of resources and equipment, because there's equipment in every spot, all the way down through there, whereas if you were working going forward, you wouldn't have to have it.
Well, that's right. They have several subcontractors. They have a subcontractor that's just doing the bridges. They're doing a lot of the dirt work, but they've got some subcontractors doing the dirt work. But they have, I think right now they have 5 separate crews working on that job. It's about an 18-mile section. But yeah, I think you'll see a lot of work going on. If there's some reason you don't see work going on, there's a reason for it. You know, part of it may be weather. You know, if they can't get out there and work because of the weather, there may be some problem that they ran into that we say, okay, you got to pull back now and let us solve whatever this problem is, whether it's a constructability problem or a problem we found with the plans. But if you don't see them working, there's going to be a reason that they're not working. But yeah, they will be, for the most part, starting at this end and moving toward Hot Springs, but there will be some intermittent work going on throughout that corridor.
Right.
Just a quick transition. I want to save your question for the end. We got about 15 minutes left, but I want to make sure that Representative Mayberry has a chance to give us some updates on his end, and then we'll save the last 5 minutes of the presentation for some questions. So,
I'll just mention a couple of bills that I've been working on in the last few weeks, but actually I said last few weeks, some of them extending the last few years. One, the ABLE Act, Achieving Better Life Experiences. It's a federal legislation that actually was passed on the federal level a couple of years ago, or a little bit longer than that. All 6 members of our congressional delegation had supported it and co-sponsored it. And what it does is allows individuals with developmental disabilities. Right now there was an asset limit of the maximum that they could have was $2,000 in order to be able to continue with Medicaid services and et cetera, so forth, so on. Well, what that meant was if an individual, for instance, if they wanted to be able to purchase a wheelchair lift or some type of medical assistance devices or something like that, they wouldn't be able to, let's say a wheelchair lift is $5,000 or $6,000, they wouldn't be able to save that amount of money without risking losing all of their other services to be able to do this. So what this does is allow them now to be able to save up to $14,000 annually that would be spent directly on those types of things. But the federal legislation for states to be able to implement it had to have enabling legislation on a state-by-state basis. We passed that a couple of years ago, and we were actually one of the first 5 states to pass that, and there are now 16 states that are up and running with it, and we're not yet one of those. The reason being that in our infinite wisdom in the legislature, sometimes we have bills that go through that they're not written exactly the way they need to be. So we had some clarifying language that we needed to take care of. This time we took care of that. We voted on it and passed it through the House last week, passed through the Senate this week. It's on the governor's desk now, so that should be up and running. I'm told that we should be up and running with that by September, so hopefully that's a good thing. And you know, sometimes you swing and you miss. I had a bill fail in committee yesterday, one that I've been working on for, and my wife, the former State Representative Mayberry, working on for about the past 4 years, and it would be to address adequate school nursing in our public school systems. We have most of the school districts in the state do a great job in providing adequate nursing levels, but there are some that don't. And basically what this dealt with was trying to ensure that we have a school nurse on every campus. It's very important. Today's school nurses deal with a whole lot more than what school nurses used to have to deal with. This is not just sticking a Band-Aid on kids. We have children with severe chronic diseases, with diabetes that require close monitoring, life-threatening food allergies, and just so much more that they deal with now than they ever had to deal with before. As a state, we do have we send money to each of the school districts through our foundation funding, and we have in accreditation standards ratios. We have ratios for accreditation regarding ratio for principals to students, teachers to students, counselors to students, librarians to students, but we have that same ratio for nurses, but that's not mentioned in the accreditation standards. So we have school districts that they meet the ratio on principals, they meet the ratio on librarians, they meet the ratio on counselors, they meet the ratio on teachers, but we allocate through a matrix funding formula $40 million a year to go out to the school districts, of which the school districts, specifically for nurses, that's how it's measured in the foundation funding, of which the school districts are using 21 million of that 40 million toward nursing. Now they do pull from some other resources, but there's 19 million of it that is specifically intended to go toward nursing programs on the school campuses that's not being used for those purposes. So had a bill yesterday addressing some of that. We had about an hour and a half long presentation in the Education Committee. Couldn't get it out of the committee, but I don't like to think that I've ever lost at anything. I like to think instead that I just ran out of time before I won. Let that sink in for a minute. So far, I've not yet run out of time on this, so we're going to go back, make some amendments, and we'll readdress all that a little bit later. Thanks.
So we have about 5 to 10 minutes left. I want to open it up to questions again. I know.
I was just going to ask, on the Hot Springs side of the 70, there's a fairly new bridge that came in with the bypass, I think, right between Crossgate Church and where the bypass, where King bypass starts. And they're doing something there. Do you know what that is? Or just curious.
Well, that new bridge was built to help traffic flow through the interchange area when I think they call it the east-west arterial. They don't like the word bypass. Well, the east-west arterial was extended up to Highway 70, and we built a new bridge to kind of help with some of the traffic flow through the interchange. But also, Garland County just passed a 5/8 cent sales tax, countywide sales tax. They're using about $30 or $35 million of that to partner with us to extend that east-west arterial from Highway 70 up to the intersection of Highways 5 and 7. So there'll be a little bit of preliminary investigative work in there. We haven't started designing it. We're working on that right now since that sales tax passed. So there'll be a little bit of investigative type work. The Highway 70 widening job really ends at that interchange, but there may be a little bit of work going on there from the current construction contract, but most of it will probably be part of the early work to start to develop plans for the extension of that road on up to Highways 5 and 7. One thing that Representative Hammer reminded me of, I want to make sure that I do mention this. I mentioned on the interchange at exit 116 that there wouldn't be any impact on Caldwell Elementary School. The construction doesn't go up there, but also there shouldn't be any additional traffic diverted through there, because there'll be, again, 2 lanes in each direction that are open all the time. The impact would be from students, parents, buses that are traveling through that area to get to school. They may experience some delays because of the construction, but there shouldn't be any more traffic that's diverted up there in front of Caldwell Elementary School. So I want to make sure I mention that too.
something that's not on that radar, three kind of I call pinch points I know we have. At Spring Hill, that interchange and on-ramp are so crammed together. And we have the same thing, getting off of Rental Road going west. Are y'all starting to look at that? And are they starting to look at anything at Otter Creek to make two lanes go up to 430? Like you got two coming up. Make it a lot better coming this way, you're still going in. We have a parking lot.
Yeah, that's true, and we know there are probably still some improvements down there at Otter Creek going the other direction. We haven't really gotten very far with that. For Reynolds Road and Spring Hill Road, we've looked at several options for those over the years. We think the interchange at Bryant Parkway is going to relieve a lot of congestion at Reynolds Road, and that's going to help. Some of the options that we've looked at, though, are really combining the Reynolds Road interchange and the Alcoa Road interchange into one interchange. And you can't put an interchange at Spring Hill Road, even though there's an overpass there, because it doesn't meet the spacing requirements for interchanges on the interstate. It's too close together. It's too close to Alcoa.
Problem is now people come off that bridge and they can't get over and get on quick enough.
Right, but we think the Bryant Parkway interchange will take some traffic out of that area that'll make that easier. But we've looked at several options. We thought the option of combining Reynolds Road and Alcoa Road was a good one, really until they built the Kroger and Academy Sports and all that. They like having the off-ramp as close to them as they can get.
And that side's not that bad, it's going into town.
Yeah.
The Bryant, you get off and people trying to go south on Reynolds Road, there's that Exxon station, it just wads up.
Right, but we think the Bryant Parkway interchange will help with a lot of that. Yes, sir.
Scott, thanks for a very informative presentation. But you mentioned the cable area along the I noticed some on the east side of the northwest side coming to the center. Can you explain how that is?
I can. A lot of it has to do with the way the median is shaped, and you have to have them in as flat a spot as possible. So if you have a wider and a deeper median, you can't always put them in the median. But one of the things that we like to do is if a vehicle's leaving the roadway on that side, you want to try to catch them absolutely as soon as you can. So a lot of times when if you're going around the curve to the right and your vehicle kind of moves to the left, then we'll put it on that side. We do switch them back and forth sometimes, depending on the way the road is curved. We'll try to have as long a run as possible, but a lot of it is based on the way the median is sloped. So we'll try to have it closer to the road if we can. If you've got narrower medians and a fairly flat median, we might put it right in the middle. But for the most part, you're going to try to catch them as soon as you can if they're leaving the road. So if you're going around a curve to the right, we'll put it on that left-hand side. That's basically it. We try to have some openings for emergency vehicles. A lot of times when we switch sides, we'll switch it at a bridge. So because there's some protection there anyway, and that gives emergency vehicles a spot to cross. And then sometimes if there's a really long run, you'll just see an opening in the middle too for emergency vehicles to cross. I don't know if that explained it really well, but that's the basics of it. It's got a lot to do with the way the slope is once you leave the road. Okay.
The Alcoa Road exchange is a huge problem. I work right there, so I probably realize it more than a lot, but do you think the changes with Alcoa, the Spring Hill, and the widening of Holly Bottom is going to alleviate those problems?
I think it will. I think that'll have a big impact. Like I said, there are some changes that could be made with Alcoa Road and Spring Hill and Reynolds Road. I think the Bryant Parkway will take care of part of that. I think widening Highway 5 will take care of part of it too. there was a lot of traffic in that interchange even before all that development, and there's more development coming up. So there may be some other changes that we have to look at. I know one of the things I notice when people have problems merging around here. I mean, I don't just mean in Saline County, I mean in Arkansas. I mean, there are spots where they come around a loop and they got their own lane and people just stop. And you want to put up a big sign that says, "You have your own lane, keep going." I don't think that's a standard sign, but yeah, I think these improvements will help. I think what you'll find is that once Highway 5 is widened, you will see more traffic moving over Highway 5 because it'll be safer and traffic will flow better there. One more? Yes, sir.
What's the maintenance cost on the cable systems versus some of the other systems we use for barricades?
Well, it's actually a lot less. If you hit, and I'll say this, most of the time it's a lot better on a vehicle too. If you hit a concrete barrier, the chances are you're going to bounce off of that concrete barrier back into the travel lane, and it's going to be even worse. And when the concrete barrier has to be replaced, it's pretty expensive. Cable median barriers, we actually have a stockpile of posts. What happens is there's a sleeve that's put in a concrete base, and the post comes up out of the sleeve, and the cable median barrier is just woven around those posts. So when somebody runs off the road and hits one of those, the posts are designed to really fall over, and the cable gives a little bit and slows the vehicle down until they come to a stop. Well, then we get out there with the additional posts and just drive the post into the sleeve and reweave the cable and then make sure that it's tensioned. We may have to tension it again, but it's really not that expensive. It's a lot less than having to replace concrete barriers.
Pretty quick.
It's really quick. It is. Okay, thank y'all.
I just want to invite Representative Hammer to come up for a couple minutes, a couple last things he would like to say. This is a good problem to have when we have all these questions. So I want to thank y'all for coming out again. I'm going to invite Representative Hammer up to the microphone, and then we'll take a shot. So thank you. Or Senator Clark just walked in as well. Thank you for being here.
Wanted to give you a couple updates about a couple things that are on the agenda for the next few days. Number one, we're dealing with tort reform. The two things I'd like to mention to you about tort reform, which is a very sensitive, hot topic button. I want to give you a quick update on that. It boils down to a value dollar that would be established that could be changed at a future time by the legislative branch with 3/4 of the vote, but also it deals with separation of powers issue. And it's you get this many group of attorneys in the room and this many group of attorneys in the room, and typically there's not 100% unison, and it is a situation that's, no disrespect, but they just have strong opinions on both sides.
And they don't merge well.
And they don't merge like and we'll be hearing from after this meeting this morning. But anyway, the one thing we want everybody to remember is this is a constitutional issue that's going to be put on the ballot to be voted on by the people. We've been kicking this ball around since 2003. And it is time for us to put something out and let the people vote up or down. So we're trying to get the best recommendation out there. Will it be perfect? Not in any way will it be perfect. But it'll be a chance for the people to vote on it and say, yes, we like this, or no, we don't. So one thing that'd be good is when this gets out of here is maybe us come back toward the end of this, this series of meetings, and we'll give you an update exactly about tort reform and give you a chance to talk about it. But remember this, at the end of the day, you'll get to vote on it. The other one is, one of the big issues is wine in the Walmart and Kroger's versus wines remaining in the liquor stores, and that's a hot topic issue that's going on right now that we're dealing with. The governor's in Washington right now meeting with a bunch of other governors regarding health care reform. That's a fluid topic right now, and he's up there, and we'll be dealing with that. There's also going to be a task force that is going to be put in place. So over the next few years, we talk about realigning the tax system and trying to come up with a plan that might be better than what we have right now. Also, auto parts, whether you can get them remanufactured or have to get them from the dealership. Full disclosure, that's a hot topic issue that we're dealing with right now. And then Representative Fight had to leave early, but his tire bill is in the Senate. I would just say this about that. Read it carefully before you draw conclusions that you read on Facebook or anywhere else. It is an issue that I think is going to be vindicated in the next 30 to 60 days by some leg audit reports that are going to come out about some of these waste tire districts and about the mismanagement of them and why this was necessary in order to do. So please be well informed about that. Just real quick, some of the bills I'm working on deal with economic bills and some efficiency bills, combining some agencies to save some money that we can be more efficient in the operation of. And also, one other thing is going to be a 360 evaluation where all state agencies would be required to do a 360 evaluation of their employees and their management with the purpose of making those agencies more efficient and getting more dialogue among the two. And the report will be brought to the legislative branch so that we can look. If it's important to you, the governor signed the bill the other day. We successfully got through that for all practical purposes kills the effort to get the satanic statue on your state capitol grounds. A knife was put in the heart of Satan the other day. I'll say that boldly because I don't serve Satan, I serve God, and I'm proud of that.
All right, so it's 8 o'clock on the dot. I want to thank again Saline Memorial Hospital for catering this breakfast. I want to thank our breakfast sponsor, Landers of Saline County again, Cheryl Cook, Rodney Black, greatly appreciate your support. The Benton Chamber of Commerce, Bryan Chamber of Commerce, and the Hot Springs Village Area Chamber of Commerce for coming together and partnering on this great series of breakfasts. I want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. I know it's an early morning, but really appreciate y'all's support this morning. And I want to thank Representative Kim Hammer. I want to thank Scott Bennett. I want to thank Representative Mayberry. And even though we had to leave early, Representative Lenny Fight for being here today. I don't think you bored you. And Senator Clark as well for being here today. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. Mark your calendar now, dates of future legislative breakfasts. We're going to have one on March 10th. The breakfast is going to be sponsored by First Electric Cooperative, followed by a breakfast on March 24th, sponsored by Farm Bureau Insurance. So y'all have a great day. Thank you so much again. And thank you for being here.